20 black celebrities who went broke twice. They had millions in the bank, platinum records, championship rings, and global fame. So how did they end up broke twice? From mansions lost to tax liens, to entourages that drained entire fortunes, these 20 black celebrities went from the top of the world to financial collapse, not once, but again. You might think it's all about bad decisions, but the truth is far more complicated and shocking. Before we dive into these jaw-dropping stories, make sure to subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence and hit the bell, because these cautionary tales aren't just entertaining, they're eye-opening. MC Hammer. In the early 1990s, MC Hammer was more than a chart-topping rapper, he was a cultural phenomenon. With his hit single, You Can't Touch This, and the explosive success of his album Please Hammer Don't Hurt M, he became one of the highest-paid entertainers in the world. At his peak, Hammer was reportedly earning over $30 million annually, a figure unheard of for a hip-hop artist at that time. But his meteoric rise was matched by an equally staggering fall, fueled by financial overreach and unchecked spending. Hammer's downfall began with his lifestyle choices. He purchased a 12-acre estate in Fremont, California, reportedly worth $30 million, and renovated it with luxury amenities including a gold-plated gate, a private recording studio, 2 swimming pools, and even a bowling alley. Beyond personal indulgence, Hammer employed a massive entourage, estimated to include over 200 people, from backup dancers and bodyguards to family members and friends, all on his payroll. His monthly expenses alone were rumored to exceed $500,000. As music tastes shifted and album sales declined, Hammer's income shrank, but his expenditures didn't. By 1996, he was over $13 million in debt and filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. He listed assets of only around $9.6 million, against liabilities that spiraled far beyond that. His possessions, including his mansion, cars, and investments, were liquidated to cover debts. Despite the collapse, Hammer didn't disappear. In later years, he turned to ministry, technology investments, and reality television. He also became a cautionary figure in financial literacy discussions. Hammer's story has since been used in business schools and artist management courses as a prime example of lifestyle inflation and the perils of not having a sustainable financial plan. Today, Hammer has reinvented himself, but his name remains synonymous with both opulent success and the cost of not managing it wisely. Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton, a 7-time Grammy-winning R&B icon, stunned fans not once but twice with her public financial collapses. Despite selling over 40 million albums worldwide, including mega hits like Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again, Braxton filed for bankruptcy 2 times, first in 1998, and again in 2010. Her story is a sobering example of how even massive commercial success can be undercut by industry exploitation and personal misfortune. Braxton's first bankruptcy in 1998 was a direct result of a notoriously predatory record deal. Despite her albums generating tens of millions in revenue, she allegedly received less than $2,000 in royalties from her first contract. That revelation shook the public and brought long overdue attention to the unfair business practices prevalent in the music industry. Braxton sued her label, LaFace Records, and won the rights to perform again, but the damage had been done. She listed debts of over $3.9 million and assets of just $1 million. Her second bankruptcy in 2010 involved more personal challenges. Following a diagnosis of lupus and heart complications that forced her to cancel a Las Vegas residency, Braxton once again found herself overwhelmed by debt, reportedly $50 million, including unpaid taxes, mortgages, and legal fees. Her assets at the time were estimated at only $10 million. Notably, she also owed the IRS more than $300,000. Braxton eventually recovered, thanks in part to reality TV, Braxton Family Values, memoir sales, and ongoing touring. Yet her repeated financial struggles remain a cautionary tale. In her words, she took full responsibility but also highlighted the systemic injustices that often affect young black artists, especially women, entering the industry with little protection. Her story underscores the critical need for artist advocacy, healthcare support, and financial transparency. DMX. DMX was one of the most powerful and gritty voices in hip-hop history. His debut album It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, 1998, catapulted him into superstardom, selling over 5 million copies in the US alone. He followed it up with a string of multi-platinum records, amassing a fortune estimated to be in the tens of millions. But behind his raw lyrics and intense performances was a man battling deep personal demons, and a financial nightmare that plagued him throughout his life. DMX's first major financial collapse came in the mid-2000s. Despite having sold over 74 million records worldwide, his income had dwindled as legal troubles mounted. He was arrested multiple times, for drug possession, driving offenses, and failure to pay child support, and his legal bills alone ran into the millions. In 2009, he owed more than $1.5 million in back taxes and support payments. By 2013, he had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, claiming less than $50,000 in assets but over $1 million in liabilities. The court rejected his request due to inconsistencies in his documentation, prolonging his financial instability. In 2018, DMX was sentenced to 1 year in federal prison for tax fraud. He had failed to pay $1.7 million to the IRS. Prosecutors revealed that he had hidden income by using bank accounts set up by managers and associates. DMX tragically passed away in April 2021 after a drug-induced heart attack. At the time of his death, he left behind 15 children and significant unpaid debts. His legacy, however, remains larger than his financial struggles. DMX's story is a heartbreaking reminder that fame does not equate to stability, and that unhealed trauma, if ignored, can sabotage even the greatest success. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes, the action star best known for Blade, White Men Can't Jump, and New Jack City, was once one of Hollywood's highest-paid black actors. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, he was reportedly earning $10 million per film. However, in a twist worthy of a movie plot, Snipes' financial empire collapsed when he decided to challenge the U.S. tax system, an act that would land him behind bars and nearly ruin his career. In 2008, Snipes was convicted on 3 misdemeanor counts of willfully failing to file federal tax returns. The IRS claimed he owed more than $7 million in unpaid taxes and penalties. Despite his celebrity status, Snipes was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison, serving time from 2010 to 2013. During his trial, he had attempted to argue that federal income tax laws did not apply to him, an argument rooted in tax protester ideology, which the court firmly rejected. His legal troubles severely damaged his career. Major studios distanced themselves from the actor, and his once lucrative movie roles vanished. Even after his release, Snipes struggled to regain momentum in Hollywood, often relegated to smaller or direct-to-video projects. Despite the chaos, Snipes attempted a comeback, including a notable role in Dolomite Is My Name, 2019, and Coming to America, 2021. He's since spoken about his incarceration and emphasized the importance of financial literacy, accountability, and better legal counsel. Wesley Snipes' story is a blunt warning: no matter your status, neglecting your tax obligations has consequences. He went from millionaire megastar to federal inmate, proving that financial ignorance or arrogance can dismantle even the most glamorous careers. Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, known affectionately as The Answer, is one of the most iconic and culturally influential basketball players in NBA history. During his 14-year professional career, Iverson earned more than $154 million in salary, not including tens of millions in endorsements from brands like Reebok, which famously signed him to a lifetime deal. Yet despite this immense wealth, Iverson faced severe financial troubles after his retirement. Iverson's money vanished quickly due to lavish spending habits, a massive entourage, gambling debts, and lack of financial planning. At the height of his wealth, he was known for traveling with up to 50 people, covering all of their expenses. He bought multiple luxury cars, high-end jewelry, and real estate, but often in cash, without long-term investment strategies. By 2012, reports emerged that Iverson was nearly broke. A judge ordered him to pay a $900,000 jewelry debt, and his bank account was reportedly drained to just $1,000. In 2013, his financial mismanagement became public when court documents revealed a pattern of uncontrolled spending, including thousands of dollars spent monthly on clothes, restaurants, and entertainment. One saving grace came from his Reebok contract. The company set aside a $32 million trust, which Iverson will gain full access to at age 55, a clause written to protect him from himself during his younger years. This trust fund is often cited as a rare moment of foresight in a career otherwise marred by financial recklessness. Iverson remains a beloved figure in sports, and his honesty about his missteps has helped rebuild his public image. Today, he speaks openly about his journey, using it to educate younger athletes. His story serves as a powerful lesson: earning millions means nothing without discipline, structure, and trusted advice. Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens was a dominant force in the NFL for 15 seasons, known for his unmatched athleticism, game-changing plays, and headline-making celebrations. As a six-time Pro Bowl wide receiver, Owens amassed an estimated $80 million throughout his career from contracts, sponsorships, and endorsements. Yet despite this enormous earning potential, Owens publicly revealed in 2012 that he was broke, a shocking revelation for someone considered one of the best wide receivers of all time. His financial downfall stemmed from a mix of bad investments, real estate market crashes, and misplaced trust. Owens invested heavily in multiple real estate ventures before the 2008 market crash, most of which lost significant value. Additionally, he entrusted his finances to advisors he later accused of mismanaging his funds. One high-profile misstep involved a failed entertainment complex in Alabama that reportedly cost him millions. On top of that, Owens's generous nature worked against him. He admitted to financially supporting multiple family members, friends, and 4 different mothers of his children, contributing to unsustainable monthly obligations. His child support payments alone totaled nearly $45,000 per month, which became nearly impossible to meet once his NFL checks stopped coming in. Despite attempts to revive his career in the CFL and smaller leagues, Owens never returned to the NFL spotlight. He later appeared on reality shows like The T.O. Show to rebuild his brand and open up about his struggles. In interviews, he has expressed deep regret over trusting the wrong people and failing to educate himself financially during his prime. Owens now advocates for financial literacy among young athletes, encouraging them to learn from his mistakes. His story illustrates how even peak physical performance and fame can't protect someone from financial ruin without education, planning, and trustworthy guidance. Marion Jones. Marion Jones was once celebrated as the fastest woman in the world. At the 2000 Sydney Olympics, she won 5 medals, including 3 golds, becoming a global symbol of strength and athleticism. At the height of her fame, she had endorsement deals from brands like Nike and was earning millions in prize money, appearance fees, and media contracts. But behind the triumph lay a devastating secret, and financial disaster followed swiftly after it was exposed. In 2007, Jones admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs and lying to federal investigators, leading to her being stripped of all her Olympic medals. Her sponsors cut ties overnight, and she was sentenced to 6 months in federal prison for perjury. The public fall from grace was matched by financial ruin. She had already been under financial strain due to a series of bad investments, particularly a real estate scheme that collapsed. Combined with legal fees, loss of income, and mounting debts, Jones filed for bankruptcy in 2007, listing assets of just $2,000 against debts nearing $500,000. She was forced to sell her homes and relinquish almost all of her physical possessions. After prison, Jones attempted a career shift into professional basketball and motivational speaking. She joined the WNBA's Tulsa Shock, though the pay was a fraction of what she once earned. Despite her efforts, she never regained financial security or commercial appeal. Marion Jones's journey is a sobering example of how fame can disappear in an instant, especially when built on deception. But her willingness to own her mistakes and rebuild her life offers a parallel narrative, one of redemption and resilience. Still, her story underscores the steep cost of shortcuts, both reputationally and financially. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was once the most feared man in boxing. As the youngest heavyweight champion in history, he built an empire around his devastating knockouts, ferocious presence, and high-profile persona. During the peak of his career, Tyson earned more than $400 million, yet by 2003, he filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, listing over $23 million in debt. His spending habits were the stuff of legend. Tyson splurged on multi-million-dollar mansions, exotic cars, custom-made jewelry, and even Siberian tigers, which reportedly cost him $70,000 each, plus an additional $125,000 per year for caretakers. He spent $400,000 on a single birthday party, and his entourages numbered in the dozens. Legal troubles only made matters worse. Tyson served time in prison for rape in the early 1990s, faced numerous lawsuits, and went through 2 costly divorces. He also reportedly owed millions in back taxes, including a $13 million debt to the IRS, and unpaid legal fees. His bankruptcy filing revealed a lifestyle far beyond his means, even during periods when he was no longer boxing at a championship level. Following his financial collapse, Tyson slowly rebuilt his life through acting, the Hangover franchise, a one-man stage show, Mike Tyson, Undisputed Truth, and his popular podcast Hot Boxin' with Mike Tyson. In recent years, he's also capitalized on the legal cannabis industry, launching Tyson 2.0, a marijuana brand that has shown significant promise. Tyson's redemption arc is unlike any other. From the top of the world to the depths of debt and despair, he's clawed his way back, not just financially, but emotionally. Yet his legacy is a stark reminder: even a $400 million fortune can vanish without guidance, accountability, and a grasp on reality. Evander, the real deal. Holyfield was a four-time heavyweight world champion who earned more than $250 million over his storied boxing career. Known for his legendary bouts against Mike Tyson, including the infamous ear-biting incident, Holyfield enjoyed a lifestyle as grand as his reputation. But years of extravagant spending, child support obligations, and failed investments brought him to financial ruin, twice. One of Holyfield's most symbolic purchases was his 109-room mansion in Atlanta, valued at $10 million. The estate featured a bowling alley, movie theater, and 17 bathrooms, but was eventually foreclosed in 2008 and sold at auction to pay off debts. At one point, Holyfield was supporting 11 children with multiple mothers, and his monthly child support payments exceeded $500,000, a crushing figure after his fight purses slowed. Business ventures also contributed to his collapse. He launched a record label, Real Deal Records, and invested in numerous enterprises that failed to yield profit. By 2012, he was facing multiple lawsuits, and the IRS placed liens on his assets for unpaid taxes totaling over $200,000. In total, he reportedly owed more than $14 million at the height of his financial crisis. Despite his hardships, Holyfield has remained active in the public eye. He's participated in reality TV, boxing commentary, and occasionally stepped back into the ring for exhibition matches. While his financial fortunes have never returned to their former heights, his dignity and work ethic have kept him moving forward. Evander Holyfield's tale is not just about overspending, it's about the difficulty of transitioning out of sports when the paychecks stop. His life reminds us that even champions need solid financial planning, or risk losing everything they fought for. Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill was once hailed as the voice of a generation. Rising to fame with the Fugees and later dominating the charts with her critically acclaimed solo album The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she won 5 Grammy Awards in a single night and sold over 20 million albums globally. However, her financial reality starkly contrasted with her public brilliance. In 2012, Hill pleaded guilty to tax evasion, admitting she had failed to file tax returns from 2005 to 2007, during which she earned over $1.8 million. Hill's explanation struck a chord. She cited disillusionment with the music industry, stepping away from the spotlight to focus on her family and mental health. But the IRS wasn't forgiving. In 2013, she was sentenced to 3 months in federal prison, followed by home detention and probation. She also faced mounting tax penalties and late fees. Compounding her financial woes were disputes with former collaborators, canceled shows, and inconsistent performances that alienated promoters and fans. Hill was sued multiple times for breach of contract after showing up late or not at all to scheduled concerts, resulting in further fines and lost revenue. Despite the setbacks, Hill has attempted comebacks through sporadic touring and collaborations. Still, her relationship with the industry remains strained, and her finances have never fully recovered. Her once lucrative career was essentially frozen during her hiatus from music. Lauryn Hill's story is more than a tale of tax trouble, it's a complex narrative of talent, trauma, rebellion, and consequence. She remains an icon, but also a cautionary example of how turning your back on the system without legal and financial preparation can have lasting repercussions, even for a genius. Sinbad. Sinbad was one of the most recognizable comedians of the 1990s. Known for his clean, family-friendly humor and standout roles in films like Houseguest and Jingle All the Way, he built a career based on charm and relatability. At his peak, Sinbad was earning millions through stand-up, television appearances, and movie roles. Yet despite his steady career, Sinbad filed for bankruptcy twice, first in 2009, and again in 2013, primarily due to IRS tax debt, not excessive lifestyle choices. Unlike other celebrities who lost fortunes through overspending or wild investments, Sinbad's troubles stemmed from years of unpaid taxes, interest, and penalties. In 2013 court filings, he reported having only $131,000 in assets, including just $5 in a checking account, while owing more than $10.9 million, most of it to the federal government. The comedian has always been candid about his situation, admitting that he simply fell behind on taxes and lacked proper financial oversight. His willingness to be transparent made his story more relatable, but no less alarming. The IRS filed multiple liens against him, and Sinbad had to sell off personal belongings and significantly downsize his lifestyle. Health issues in later years, including a devastating stroke in 2020, further complicated his financial and personal journey. Despite these challenges, Sinbad remains beloved in the entertainment world and continues rehabilitation with the support of his family and fans. Sinbad's story serves as a real-world reminder that not paying your taxes, regardless of income, can be financially catastrophic. Even celebrities who seem to live right can find themselves in deep trouble without proper records, regular payments, and a solid accountant. Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman became a global sensation in the late 1970s and early 1980s as Arnold Jackson in the sitcom Diff'rent Strokes. His catchphrase, "What you talkin' 'bout, Willis," made him a pop culture icon. At one point, Coleman was the highest-paid child actor on television, earning up to $70,000 per episode, and amassing millions during his youth. But by the time he reached adulthood, his fortune had vanished. Coleman's financial troubles began early due to parental mismanagement and exploitation. He sued his adoptive parents and former business advisor in 1989 for misappropriating his earnings, eventually winning a $1.3 million judgment. However, legal fees and poor financial planning left him with little. By 1999, Coleman filed for bankruptcy, citing medical expenses and the high cost of maintaining his lifestyle during his fame years. He later took jobs as a security guard and made appearances on reality TV shows, including The Surreal Life and Divorce Court, in an effort to regain financial stability. Sadly, he continued to struggle until his death in 2010 at the age of 42 from a brain hemorrhage after a fall. Coleman died with limited assets and ongoing disputes over his estate and medical decisions. His tragic arc, from child millionaire to a working-class adult barely getting by, shined a spotlight on the lack of protections for child stars. Gary Coleman's legacy is not just about stardom, but about vulnerability. His life prompted wider discussion about the need for stronger financial safeguards for minors in entertainment, something that remains relevant in today's industry. Antoine Walker, an NBA All-Star and 2006 NBA champion with the Miami Heat, earned over $108 million in salary throughout his 13-year professional basketball career. Known for his swagger, versatility on the court, and three-point shooting, Walker seemed financially untouchable. But just 2 years after retirement, he filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, reporting debts of nearly $13 million and assets of less than $5 million. His financial collapse came from a toxic combination of lavish spending, poor investments, gambling losses, and extreme generosity. Walker owned multiple luxury homes, expensive cars, and lived an opulent lifestyle. But what truly drained his fortune was his self-admitted mistake of financially supporting a massive network. He claimed to have helped over 30 friends and family members, purchasing houses, cars, and covering living expenses. Walker also invested heavily in real estate ventures, many of which collapsed during the 2008 financial crisis. One of his business partners was later convicted of fraud, and Walker was left holding debts he couldn't repay. In later interviews, Walker expressed deep regret, saying he never imagined the money would dry up. After filing for bankruptcy in 2010, he worked tirelessly to educate himself on personal finance and began working with the NBA's Rookie Transition Program, warning young players about the traps of fast money and blind loyalty. Today, Walker has reinvented himself as a motivational speaker and financial educator, using his story to help others avoid similar pitfalls. He openly admits his mistakes, offering transparency in a world where former athletes often hide their downfalls. Antoine Walker's experience is the textbook definition of how wealth without structure leads to ruin, and how even in failure, redemption is still possible through learning, humility, and service. Dionne Warwick. Dionne Warwick is a living legend. With a music career spanning over 6 decades, she sold more than 100 million records, won 6 Grammy Awards, and recorded timeless classics like Walk On By and I Say a Little Prayer. But despite her immense fame and success, Warwick found herself facing severe financial hardship late in life. In 2013, at the age of 72, Warwick filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, listing debts of over $10.7 million, mostly due to unpaid federal and state taxes dating back to the 1990s. Her attorney at the time stated that Warwick's financial downfall was largely the result of negligent and gross mismanagement by former business advisors. She claimed her current income was just $20,000 per month, against monthly expenses exceeding $21,000. The bankruptcy filing also revealed that she had only $1,000 in cash and $1,500 in personal property, a stunning contrast to her earlier career earnings. The IRS and the state of California had issued multiple tax liens against her, and despite various repayment plans, the accumulated penalties and interest became unmanageable. Unlike others who squandered their wealth through lavish spending, Warwick's financial collapse stemmed from decades of financial mismanagement and neglect, exacerbated by compounding tax penalties. Despite this, she has maintained her dignity and continues to perform, connecting with fans both through concerts and her highly popular Twitter account, where she shares humorous, relatable takes on life and celebrity culture. Dionne Warwick's experience is a sobering reminder that fame does not equal financial invincibility. Her case underscores the importance of trustworthy financial advisors and the need for artists to stay informed about their own finances, even if they're focused on creating timeless music. Michael Vick. Michael Vick was one of the NFL's most electrifying quarterbacks. In 2001, he became the first overall pick in the NFL draft and signed a $62 million contract with the Atlanta Falcons. By 2004, he extended that with a record-breaking $130 million deal, making him the highest-paid player in league history at the time. His athleticism and marketability earned him endorsements with Nike, Coca-Cola, and EA Sports. But all of it unraveled in 2007. Vick was indicted and later convicted for his role in a brutal illegal dogfighting ring, which caused a media and legal firestorm. He was sentenced to 23 months in federal prison, and during his incarceration, he lost every major endorsement and was suspended indefinitely from the NFL. He filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2008, citing $20 million in debt. The court documents showed shocking details. Vick owed millions in unpaid taxes, legal fees, and settlements. His properties, cars, and investments were either sold or repossessed. His finances were so deeply entangled that he agreed to a strict repayment plan, uncommon for bankrupt athletes, vowing to pay off creditors with future earnings upon his return to the NFL. Vick made a remarkable comeback with the Philadelphia Eagles, eventually repaying nearly $18 million of his debt. While his reputation remained controversial, his financial discipline post-prison earned praise. He made smarter financial choices, avoided previous extravagances, and prioritized stability over flash. Michael Vick's story is one of devastating failure and extraordinary redemption. His downfall was rooted in criminal behavior and reckless decisions, but his climb back up offers a lesson in accountability, humility, and second chances, both financially and personally. Marvin Sapp is a renowned gospel singer, bishop, and pastor whose song Never Would Have Made It became an anthem of hope and healing. With multiple Grammy nominations and a successful ministry, Sapp built a dual career in music and faith leadership. But even someone who inspired millions with songs of endurance found himself enduring a personal financial storm. Though Sapp never filed public bankruptcy, reports in 2016 indicated that he faced foreclosure on his home and was dealing with significant debt. Much of his financial difficulty stemmed from the 2008 real estate crash, which severely affected investment properties tied to his ministry. Additionally, Sapp's world was rocked by the death of his wife Melinda in 2010, who had also served as his manager and key business partner. After Melinda's passing, Sapp admitted he struggled to manage both the emotional and financial weight left behind. He scaled back his music tours and focused more on rebuilding his family life and ministry responsibilities. The financial turbulence was worsened by the changing landscape of gospel music, where digital disruption and lower album sales reduced income for many artists. What distinguishes Sapp's story is that it wasn't driven by excess or recklessness, it was about grief, economic downturn, and the fragile balance between ministry and money. In the years that followed, he stabilized his affairs, restructured his church operations, and returned to music with renewed clarity. Marvin Sapp's financial struggles highlight that even the most faithful and disciplined lives can be shaken by unforeseen events. His journey underscores the importance of contingency planning, especially when one's family, finances, and mission are all interwoven. David Darnell Brown. David Darnell Brown, better known as Young Buck, was once a prominent figure in the hip-hop world as part of G-Unit, the rap collective led by 50 Cent. At the height of his fame in the mid-2000s, Young Buck released platinum-selling albums like Straight Outta Cashville and was earning substantial income from music, touring, and appearances. But behind the success was a brewing financial crisis that would lead him to file for bankruptcy not once, but twice, in 2010 and again in 2020. Much of his financial trouble stemmed from an intense and prolonged legal battle with G-Unit, and 50 Cent contract disputes reportedly prevented him from releasing music independently, effectively freezing his ability to earn a living through his primary craft. As his debts mounted, Young Buck filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy in 2010, claiming over $11.5 million in liabilities, including tax debt and unpaid child support. Things worsened in the following years. He was evicted, had his belongings seized, including recording equipment, and even filed again for bankruptcy in 2020, citing continued financial strain, including more unpaid taxes and outstanding debts exceeding $100,000. Despite the hardships, Young Buck never fully left the scene. He continued to release music independently, perform at smaller venues, and connect with fans through social media. His story, however, is marred by the harsh reality of the music industry, where contracts, label feuds, and legal entanglements can financially cripple artists who once seemed unstoppable. Young Buck's repeated financial breakdowns serve as a warning: owning your masters, understanding contracts, and staying on top of taxes are not optional, they're essential for survival in entertainment. His experience is a reminder that artistic talent alone isn't enough, it must be paired with strong legal and financial infrastructure. Florence Griffith Joyner. Florence Griffith Joyner, affectionately known as Flo Jo, remains one of the most iconic and dazzling figures in track and field history. With her record-breaking speed, signature style, flamboyant one-legged bodysuits and 6-inch nails, and magnetic personality, she dominated the 1988 Seoul Olympics, winning 3 gold medals and 1 silver, and setting world records in the 100m and 200m that still stand to this day. Flo Jo's global fame translated into multi-million-dollar endorsements, modeling gigs, and television appearances. She signed deals with Nike, Prego, and even appeared in commercials with Porsche. At the height of her fame, she was among the most marketable athletes in the world. However, following her early retirement in 1989, questions loomed over her finances. After her sudden and tragic death in 1998, due to an epileptic seizure at just 38 years old, reports emerged that her estate was heavily burdened by debt, including unpaid federal and state taxes. Exact figures remain somewhat unclear due to limited public documentation, but it was widely suggested that she died with little to no liquid assets, and her family faced legal complications managing what remained of her legacy. Griffith Joyner's posthumous financial issues highlight a recurring issue among elite athletes: the lack of long-term financial planning and estate structuring. With sudden wealth, brief careers, and no financial safety nets, many sports legends are vulnerable once the cameras turn off. Flo Jo's legacy as a barrier-breaking black woman in sports remains intact, but her financial struggles after global fame offer an important reminder: even the fastest woman in history couldn't outrun the consequences of poor financial infrastructure and estate planning. Her story calls for better systems to protect athletes during and after their careers. Sheryl Swoopes. Sheryl Swoopes was a trailblazer in women's basketball, a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, WNBA MVP, and the first player ever signed to the WNBA. She broke barriers for women in sports, particularly black female athletes, and was even nicknamed the female Michael Jordan. She earned millions throughout her career, and her impact extended beyond the court through endorsements with Nike, including the launch of her own signature shoe, Air Swoops. However, by 2004, at the height of her fame, Swoopes filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, revealing liabilities that far exceeded her income. Public records showed that she owed more than $700,000, including debts related to failed business ventures, credit card bills, and tax obligations. Her downfall wasn't caused by lavish excess but rather by overspending, trusting the wrong people, and the abrupt end of her career due to injuries. Compounding her challenges, Swoopes had invested in ventures that collapsed, including a failed clothing line. She later admitted in interviews that she lacked proper financial education and felt unprepared to handle wealth and fame. Unlike male athletes with million-dollar safety nets and financial teams, Swoopes navigated her career with limited support and guidance. Post-bankruptcy, Swoopes rebuilt her life through coaching and motivational speaking. She has been an outspoken advocate for financial literacy and women's empowerment, urging young athletes, especially women of color, to be active participants in managing their money. Swoopes' journey underscores a critical truth in sports: breaking records doesn't guarantee financial success. Her story highlights the double pressure placed on female athletes, to perform and self-manage in an industry that offers fewer protections and opportunities. Despite her setbacks, Swoopes remains a legend whose experience carries valuable lessons for future generations. Fantasia Barry. Fantasia Barrino rose to stardom in 2004 when she won Season 3 of American Idol, captivating audiences with her powerful vocals and heartfelt story of overcoming poverty and teen motherhood. Her debut single, I Believe, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and her first album went platinum. At just 20 years old, Fantasia went from food stamps to superstardom almost overnight. But with sudden fame came overwhelming pressure and financial missteps. In 2009, reports surfaced that Fantasia was at risk of losing her $1.3 million home in Charlotte, North Carolina, due to missed payments. Court documents revealed that she had defaulted on a loan used to pay off previous debts, putting her property in foreclosure. The issue was temporarily resolved when she reached a settlement, but it exposed deeper financial instability. Fantasia also faced legal trouble over a highly publicized affair that led to a lawsuit from her partner's estranged wife, claiming alienation of affection, a rarely invoked legal theory in North Carolina. The lawsuit drained additional resources and generated media scrutiny that impacted her brand and earnings. What made Fantasia's situation especially tragic was that it didn't stem from extravagance but from inexperience, poor financial guidance, and trust in the wrong people. In a later interview, she admitted that she had signed contracts without fully understanding them, and that her financial advisors were not always working in her best interest. Despite the setbacks, Fantasia fought back. She starred on Broadway in The Color Purple, released several more albums, and became a vocal advocate for financial education and self-empowerment. She has since rebuilt her life with greater control over her finances and career. Fantasia's journey is a compelling reminder that overnight fame without preparation can be financially devastating, but also that redemption is possible when accountability meets education. So, what do we really learn from these stories? That talent alone isn't enough? That fame is fleeting? Or that our systems fail even the brightest stars without financial education and protection? These 20 legends remind us that success can vanish faster than it arrives, often twice. But who's truly to blame, the celebrities themselves, or the industries that profit from their rise and ignore their fall? Let us know what you think in the comments. At Legends of Black Excellence, we don't just tell the stories, we challenge you to rethink what success really means.